Let me welcome us to this very first session of the series of training. I did promise the church when I came last year that we are not going to run the church with people who we have not communicated our vision to, people who do not understand exactly what we want to do. That last year, it didn't work the way it was planned. But this year, I've made up my mind. That's why the election held yesterday, and I said the training is today. So it is intentional to make sure that the crop of leadership we will have, or the leadership we will have this year, will be a leadership that understands exactly where we are going, what it takes to get there, and what we will achieve if we get there. A leadership that does not divide against itself. A leadership that understands the principles of what Jesus taught by saying that if a house divided against itself cannot stand, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So we are here in this first session of the training. There's going to be a series of training, and those who occupy principal offices will also be trained according to their the duties they are assigned to do. The kind of PCC I want to run this year is not just the kind of PCC we have been running over the years. It's not the kind of PCC where you are a member of the PCC, you are not responsible of anything. It is going to be a kind of PCC where each member, especially those elected, that's why I brought in the 10 elected officers. Those who are elected, they are the statutory members of the PCC. They are the owners of the PCC. They are the owners of the leadership within that period. The knights who are statutory members of the leadership, year go, year come, until they die, they are members of the PCC. But those who are elected for that year, it is the responsibility of those who are elected that year to make sure that the church that has been committed to their charge does not remain where they met the church. They move the church a step forward. They move the church positively. So I crafted this training so that those who are elected will understand what it takes to be elected into PCC, and will also understand that every PCC member has to hold a portfolio. You will be responsible and answerable to one part of the church, a unit or an arm, or a department or a fellowship, so that when we come to PCC, just as commissioners, just as ministers give reports of their ministry, that is how PCC members will be responsible to hold offices and relate with other units and arms and departments. So this training is laying a foundation. I am not deterred. I made up my mind that even if 2 persons come, the same thing I would have taught the 10 persons plus the pastors is what I'm going to teach that 1 person. And I'm doing so intentionally because nothing, anything left undone cannot do itself. So I am persuaded in my heart that what I am doing is in line with what God wants me to do. And so I will continue to do it until it begins to yield fruit. I want to especially thank those of you who are here, for your presence in this meeting is an encouragement to us. Those who have not come, I know that it's not, I don't want to say they don't want to come. They may be occupied with one thing or the other. But we who have come, we should make a difference. I believe that those of us who are here will make a difference. And so this paper is, I'm running a school. I'm running a school of ministry. That is why when I came, I decided that this particular hall be emptied so that it can be placed for training individuals, training group of people as the time will be permitted and all that. So I call it Gebs School of Ministry. Gebs School of Ministry. Of course, Gebs is taken from Gabriel. This School of Ministry is powered by St. Gabriel's Anglican Church, Ulapo. The facilitator is Reverend Canon Christian Chimiza Amadi. The course we want to look at today is strategic development. Strategic development. And the course title is strategic development, but the course code is SDC 100. SDC 100. I am running this as a school. It will develop more than what we have here. And so the aim of this particular course we want to take today is to engage the mind of frontline leaders on the need to explore strategic development as a means to achieve intentional and sustainable development. The aim of this particular course, strategic development, is to engage the mind of frontline leaders. And in this church now, the frontline leaders are the PCC members. The PCC members are frontline leaders. If you want to talk about leaders of this church, it is the PCC members, and they are frontline leaders, and we want to see how we can engage our minds to explore the potentials of strategic development as a means of achieving sustainable growth. Before we enter into one or two other parts of it, these questions form the background to our study. The background to our study has about five questions that we need to answer, and we do so interactively. As we do the interactive response to the answers, it will form the basis for our discussion. Number one, what does an organization need to develop new strategies? What does an organization need to develop new strategies? What does an organization need? This is an organization. Agreed? The church is an organization. It's both an organization and an organism because it has life. It has structure. That's why it's an organization. But it has life. That's why it is an organism. So, from time to time, it grows. It has the potentials to grow. And so, as an organization, what does this organization need to develop new strategies? Over the years, you see things happen. This is the way we do it. And that way we do it may not be helpful. It may not be developmentally drive. It may not also encourage expansion. It may not encourage growth. It may not encourage development. It may not encourage, gaining new members, gaining new people into the organization. So at that point, there seems to be a stagnation. What does that organization need to have new strategies? Discussion.
They need careful men.
Careful men. Yes.
It needs people who are fair of God.
People who are fair of God, yes.
It needs people that have faith.
People who have faith, yes. People who have vision, yes.
People who have understanding.
People who have understanding. All of what you have answered are correct. But look at it this way. It needs an appraisal of the situation. Where are we? Because like vision, where are we? For you to have where you are going, you must know where you are. So it needs an appraisal of the situation. What is the situation of St. Gabriel's Church, for example? Where are we now? Like I gave us an intro yesterday that the diocese is 16 years. and the bishop of the diocese, who is also 16 years in bishopric, is from this church. If you come to this church where bishop come from, does this church speak, does it agree with the 16 years? Does it agree with the fact that the bishop is from this church? The gap is so wide. It has a very wide gap. And those wide gaps need people that will sit down intentionally to do an appraisal, to understand what it does take, what it takes to know where to go. So for us to know where we are going, we must know where we are. We must know what it will take us to get to where we are going. It is that knowledge that we now put into these components that we have shared. Prayerful people, people with understanding, people with vision, people who know what they are doing. All those components we have, we must put them into perspective. How? By doing an appraisal. And so part of what we have come here to do as leaders who have been brought on board, we have come to do an appraisal of what the church, the situation of the church, in order to craft a vision of where we are going from where we are. In order also to know what we will achieve when we get to where we are going. Because if you do not know what you will achieve, definitely you cannot be driven. The second question is, when an organization is not welcoming new members or customers, what do you think is the problem? For example, you have a shop. Anybody who opens a shop, whether it is for either medicine shop or beverages, that shop, if people do not come to that shop from time to time, something will happen to that shop. So it will collapse. So if an organization gets to the point where new people are not coming, customers are not coming, as it were, what do you think is the problem?
Adopting new marketing strategy. The thing is that they are not seeing what attracts the citizens. They don't have the goods
that the person needs from that shop.
Yes.
All right. Okay, yes, you were saying something.
I think we are adopting
A new marketing strategy. That is solution now. But what is the problem? She said one, yes, sir. Just sit down. This is senior class. Prayers. Yes, mommy. What do you think is the problem? If a shop, if an organization is not welcoming new members. Yes, Pastor. In that shop. All right. Lack of product. Okay, we have said lack of product. Pastor, you want to add? All right. Now,
let's also look at the caring.
The character of the sellers or the those who are the owners of the shop. Then, if they lack product, they will lack customers. If their character and attitude it will scare people, even if they have good product. So some shops have good product, but people cannot go to that shop to buy because of the attitude of those who are in that shop. Now, the information about their attitude is not circulated by them, it's circulated by the customers. So as the customers come and they react to them badly, what happens? Anyone who goes carries his own news. So if you now bring it to the church as an organization, take last 2 months, have we welcomed a new member that came to worship? So what could be the problem? Attitude. Attitude. So like we said, a shop can have good product. As far by the grace of God, since we came in with the pastor, nobody can say boldly that the church is lacking ministry. It cannot be boldly said that the church is lacking ministry. But the issue is that the attitude, the character that we as the owners of the shop portray towards our shop, towards our organization, will attract customers or will drive customers away. We have agreed that now. So this, what we are doing today, if we put it in mind and note and be conscious and intentional about it, it will make a whole change. That's how organizations change. Now we have known that you can have a good product. A church can be well structured. A church can be preaching the undiluted word of God. A church can also have good programs, but the program they have, the structure they have, the disposition of the display of their programs can be good, but their character can drive away their customers. Any other thing, any other addition before I add one?
The area where the organization is situated.
The area, the location of the organization, or the shop can affect productivity or sales. For example, if people have to travel far, that thing they will get from your place, they can get it in any other shop. There is no need to travel that far, especially when it will cost them some fortune to travel to where you are. So we have gotten 3 points. Number one, price of product. Number 4 now, we have gotten price of product. Poor attendance. Yes, attitude of the sellers. The location, the pricing, the attitude, and the originality of the product. So we have gotten 4. Another one is to know your competitors. For example, ShopRite is there. Spar is there. Goodness is there. Every day is there. If you do not know those who, Market Square, if you do not know those who are competing with you, those who are in the same business you are doing, and know how they are doing their business, their strategies they are applying, you might be thinking that you are doing well, you are the best. Before you know it, your customers, they'll knock you out. So you can see we've gotten 5 points. The 6th point now will be the way you market your product and your place. You know, apart from marketing your product, you market your place. That's your store. Your store may
design or
both in design, but you market it by, for example, God's Grace Supermarket. God's Grace Supermarket. Then nobody hears about God's Grace Supermarket. Nobody hears about it. What we used to hear is Fortune Supermarket. Fortune Supermarket. Go to Fortune Supermarket. Go to Fortune Supermarket. Every time, as people are hearing, when you get to Fortune Supermarket, something is happening there. But God's Grace Supermarket, there are products, but nobody knows they have those products. So we now come to advertising and marketing. How do you market your structure, your organization, and the products you have? Who hears about your product, your place? If people do not hear about you, about your place, it is difficult for you to attract them to yourself. So how many have we gotten now? I thought that somebody would be writing down, because this is how it goes. We have gotten pricing, we have gotten originality, we have gotten lack of product, we have gotten attitude, we have gotten competitors, we have also gotten advertising and marketing. So if there's 6 of them, if you do not consider these things as very critical in dispensing your product, it will be difficult for people to buy from you. You may have the best of products. You may also be located well. Fine. Number 7, location. We talked about location. Number 7, location. So we take them again. We take originality. We take availability of product. We take character, disposition. We take pricing. We take competitors. We take location, and we take advertising and marketing. So 7 pillars of growth. 7 pillars. If we want to grow, the same principle applies to what we are doing in church. For the past 1 year, have anybody heard St. Gabriel's Church in the radio? Is there any program that they said you are invited to St. Gabriel's Anglican Church, Olapo, through radio, through social media, through traditional tabloid? Where can you go in the land of Olapo? You see St. Gabriel's banner. That is St. Gabriel's banner inviting people into the church or advertising a program. So when you consider this, how will people come? Now you know, in our situation, the location of the church is a major problem. The location where the church is located is a major problem. Then all these things we mentioned, if you put them into the church system, you find out that we have the same problem. About 7 of it, we have the same problem. Our attitude, our character in the community concerning St. Gabriel's Church hardly can welcome somebody to the church. Advertising. The originality of the product is there, but the dispensing, avenues of dispensing the product. You know now people do home services. Because if you wait for people to come to your shop, there are other shops closed. So people now take the product. They make advertisement and say, we also undertake home services, home delivery. It's the same principle. So if you take it now, you find out that we ought to carry the church product to homes, to people's homes, in order to have them receive the product with little effort, or little or no effort, as it were. So if we don't do home services, just as some shops do, then we will lose customers. Some customers may not be willing to travel distances to come. So, and if they are not willing to travel distances to come to buy the product, they get the product close by, we lose them. So that's what we need to look at as leaders. To be in PCC or to be a leader of the church is not a matter of sitting and attending meetings. It's a matter of understanding what the organization is all about, how the organization can survive, and what contribution should individual members who are leaders should do. Because it is the leaders that drive the organization. Put the leaders aside, there is no organization. And when the leaders do not understand what they are supposed to do, then the followers, the buyers as it were, will buy nothing. And so it is our responsibility. That's why it is an intentional thing. It is our responsibility to make sure that this new PCC is not an ordinary PCC. It's not a PCC of we gather together. It's not a PCC of bringing things that are not intended to plug into the system. So we must understand where we are. We must understand where we are.